Hola, me llamo Liz.
Y yo me llamo Nia. Somos alumnas de la escuela Park Spanish Immersion en 6º grado.
Como pueden ver, a pesar que vamos a una escuela de inmersión en español, somos muy parecida a cualquier otra escuela primaria. La gran diferencia es que nos enseñan en español.
Sí, del kinder en adelante, español. También estudiamos las mismas materias que las otras escuelas: lectura, escritura, estudios sociales, ciencias, arte, matemáticas, pero enseñan en español.
Except for English. You can't really teach that in Spanish.
Good point. Maybe the best way to show you how we got here today is to start from the beginning.
Anaranjado, yo veo un sol.
In the full immersion education program, the children are taught in the immersion language from the first day of kindergarten.
Lunes, uno, martes, dos, miércoles, tres, jueves, cuatro, viernes, cinco, sábado, seis, domingo, siete.
Buenos días, Andy. ¿Cómo está? Buenos gracias, Alex. Buenos días, Dominic. ¿Cómo está?
Teaching techniques such as gestures, voice inflection, repetition, song, and dance, as well as visual aids, enhance the learning process and help make it easier for the younger students to understand.
Hay dos.
Manos arriba, después Mary. ¿Quién está listo? Charlie, ve.
Paco tiene café.
¿Tiene color café? Sí, otra vez. Sí, lo escucho.
Es un árbol.
Muy bien.
La muñeco de nieve es grande.
¿Es la o es el?
El muñeco de nieve.
Es grande porque es muñeco. ¿Sí? Es como un sello.
This is the morning activity, and it's all about speaking and being comfortable and using different visuals and, modeling and getting them to use their Spanish instead of me giving cues all the time.
Immersion education in the United States typically has 3 goals. First and foremost, it's important to families that students are able to achieve academically in all content areas. So the first goal is grade level achievement in content areas, academic achievement. The second goal of an immersion program is to build functional proficiency in a second language at no expense to the learner's English language development. So immersion programs aren't there to replace the native English that the learner brings to the classroom, but rather to build on it. The third common goal of an immersion program is the goal of enhanced intercultural understanding, so that parents and families, learners, schools are interested in building the learner's global understanding and sense of themselves in this intercultural global world that we belong to. So in a nutshell, those are the 3 goals of immersion education: academic achievement, language proficiency in English and the immersion language, and the third, enhanced intercultural understanding.
It's fun for me to learn a new language because then I can go to other cities, look at the cities, and talk with other people.
It is kind of like I'm learning a new culture, and it's like I'm going to a new world or something.
Pienso que es más difícil porque los vocales siempre dicen otra cosa y el español todos los vocales dicen la misma cosa.
I kind of want to be a lawyer so then I can use my second language and then I can also help people who need help not knowing that second language.
E lo Squimby che subía por la rampa del garaje. ¡Adiós! Gritó Ramona poniéndose al abrigo.
Son 60 partes.
It takes teachers who are entirely fluent, native-like speakers of the immersion language, so that the highest level of the language is being modeled to the students. By the middle of first grade, Students are expected to use the immersion language during school. In the upper elementary grades, students are completely comfortable communicating in the immersion language.
¿Ustedes les ha gustado una experiencia que han tenido que les ha gustado? ¿Sí?
Que era blanca y nos estaba pintando allí y nosotros teníamos todos los colores y nosotros solo estábamos tirando toda la pintura en una papel.
Estábamos peleando, pero unos de mis primos estaban jugando al Xbox. Yo y mi primo Pina estábamos peleando
y yo miré y mi gato estaba en su espalda como esto y yo necesitaba agarrarlo. Yo pensaba que murió, pero no murió.
Another important aspect of immersion education is that it parallels the curriculum of the local district. For example, if you have a curriculum in Spanish, the students are not learning the curriculum of Spain or Mexico, but rather the curriculum that all the other schools in that district are following. In an immersion program, daily homework is assigned in the immersion language. The homework is not based on new information, but builds on what students studied in school that day. Time is given in the classroom to begin the assignment and ask any questions that may come up.
Sometimes when we're using really complex words, it's a little difficult, but our teachers let us ask what the words mean.
The best way parents can support students at home is to make sure they do their daily homework, and by encouraging them to read books in English at home as well.
One of the common concerns of parents that are first exploring an immersion program is they have questions about whether or not they themselves need to be proficient users of the immersion language in order to be able to support the immersion language development of their child. Parents can rest assured that that is not a requirement. In fact, the vast majority of immersion parents do not speak the target language or the immersion language. There are many ways that parents can support the learner's success by becoming actively involved in the PTO, actively involved in the school community at large.
The majority of the parents don't speak the language, but your focus as a parent would be the English part of it.
Initially, a big concern is whether or not the English language development of the child will be jeopardized or handicapped in any way by the nature of the instructional environment where such a large percentage of the instruction is occurring through the medium of a second language.
I kind of had reservations because I wasn't sure how they would. I was like, well, how are they going to learn English? And if they're only, being taught in Spanish, what's going to happen to the English part of it?
We know, for example, from research that there's enhanced English language development because the learner has been exposed to another language and they have a heightened level of awareness and sensitivity towards language development, and there's been a positive kickback to their English language development.
Mrs. Picklewiggle always knows it.
By grades 2 or 3, English language instruction is about 45 minutes a day.
Patsy Brown's bad habit.
In this month in English class, we're making a book.
By 5th or 6th grade, English instruction is about 60 minutes a day.
We know that immersion students are able to achieve at or above grade level when compared with non-immersion peers on tests, standardized assessments that are administered in English. We also know that in the very initial years, grades 1 and 2, students may demonstrate a slight lag behind their non-immersion peers. We also know that by grade 4, this lag will disappear and students will achieve parity with their non-immersion peers in terms of academic achievement. So parents can rest assured that their children will be receiving a quality education academically.
I feel comfortable
reading in Spanish and in English because I think they're both really cool languages and they're both really fun to read.
Este maniquí enseña también dónde podemos mover.
The curriculum in the specialty areas, such as art, music, and physical education, is coordinated with and supportive of the immersion language and of the content being taught in the classroom. For example, if the students are studying the geography of one country, they will be studying the art and music of that same country.
Immersion education is a wonderful form of education for families that are interested in some of the cognitive and linguistic benefits that come with bilingualism.
All the research shows that people who learn a second language at a young age expand their thinking powers. We thought, well, learning Spanish would be kind of cool, but expanding your thinking powers would be extremely valuable. Let's try it.
I have a great deal of interest in language and learning language. That got me through a lot through life because I am bilingual. By seeing that benefit, I wanted my child to have the same experience in life.
This offers an opportunity of choice for our community. It offers an opportunity of choice for our families, and within that choice of learning a new language and becoming multilingual, we also offer all of our students an opportunity to understand and value the differences involved in diversity.
Yo pienso que sienta muy bueno porque puedo entender muchas cosas en español que otras personas no, y también como plantas y cosas que fueron en latino. Algunas cosas puedo más o menos averiguar qué son, qué significan.
Well, I'm convinced that the children of today are going to need to be bilingual when they get out in the working world 10, 15, 20 years from now. And so looking at language immersion programs seem to be the best way to get them to be not just familiar with a language like most of us who started in 7th or 8th grade, but to actually be bilingual or as close to it as we could get them.
I'm from India, so she'd have the Indian background. She's living in America. And she knows Spanish, and Central America will open up for her.
It's really quite stunning how fluent the kids become. They don't actually know they're learning a language. They're talking, and wow.
The other thing that oftentimes has sold parents on immersion education is the degree of commitment of the immersion teaching staff in the immersion school. Every family has to be convinced anew as they watch their child succeed, not only in being able to produce the immersion language, they watch their child as they're able to actually understand what's happening in a language that even the parent is not able to understand. And they watch that child flourish and be able to communicate things in this language. Still, parents come to it with a sense that this is a little risky and tend, because of that, to invest themselves in the program and get actively involved in the education of their children.
Todos.
Immersion language education is the fastest growing program within the United States, with a 400% increase in the last decade. It is one of the most successful forms of foreign language education.
You know, in this country here, we talk and we teach so much about multiculturalism. And yet, in my mind, true understanding, true multiculturalism can only happen through the study of another language, because language and culture are intricately linked. You cannot separate them. When you learn language, you also learn culture. And it isn't then a matter of tolerating another culture or putting up with it or it's okay. No, you truly appreciate it.
With our changing world, we understand the importance of learning other languages and interacting with people from other cultures. Immersion education is our most progressive model to get us there.
I'm thinking in particular of a student I had that struggled a great deal with French, and yet she was extremely hardworking and she was perseverant. And she had the opportunity one spring to take her mother and 4 aunts to Paris for a week. And this struggling yet valiant student in the immersion program took these 5 ladies to Paris. And for 1 long week, she did all the talking. This shy young girl did all the talking, all the ordering, all getting directions, taking them to museums and to restaurants and to boutiques. And she came back and she was a changed little girl. She said to me, "Madame, they loved me in Paris. They understood everything I said, and they said I spoke French perfectly." And to me, that just shows that language learning is indeed for everybody. And so I think of this little girl who took her these 4 ladies to Paris and gave them the time of their lives with being their private translator. And it transformed the view of who she was and of herself and of her abilities forever.
So that's our story. We hope you liked our school as much as we do. But now it's time we got going. We have homework to do. In English and Spanish. Hasta pronto. Adios.